But let's move into the next topic. We're talking about Grizzlies draft here, and there's a report coming out. They're open to trading the 4th overall pick. We just talked about the Suns being open to trading the 1st overall pick. Ricky, you mentioned the Kings on Tuesday. We haven't heard anything from the Vlade Divac camp, but read us what you're hearing, at least what we've heard from Bleacher Report, what we're hearing out of the Memphis Grizzlies camp.
And they're quoting Sporting News, and they said, if you have someone you like in the first few picks, they're the first call you'd make. That'd be the Grizzlies. They obviously have they were the most disappointed in the way that the lottery went, and the options that they have now aren't the best. It seems like they want to try to turn that pick into something else. Everyone's going to talk before the draft, of course, but Memphis, I think they're the ones who are going to be more ready to do something than others.
And that's one NBA general manager saying that. So nothing really...
It's not inside of Memphis.
Yes, not inside of Memphis. But again, Memphis was projected to be, at least lottery odds-wise, they were projected to be in the top 3, obviously falling out to now the 4th pick. We look at the options they have. We think DeAndre Ayton's going to be off the board. We think Luka Doncic is going to be off the board. Then it's really, who does Atlanta want to take at 3? Are they going to go with Bagley? Are they going to go with Bamba? Are they going to go with Jaren Jackson Jr.? And then at the Grizzlies, will they be the first to take a risk and take Michael Porter Jr. with his back injury? Would they, possibly go out and get one of the guys that fell, either Bamba, Bagley, or Jaren Jackson? What do you guys think about the Grizzlies being open to trading their pick? Because Dave, you mentioned, this team does have at least the, kind of happenings of a playoff team when healthy.
Yeah. They have, between Conley, Gasol, and a re-signed Tyreek Evans, there's no reason they shouldn't compete for a playoff spot. I know it's a tough conference out west, but still, those 3 players, Tyreek played insane this year. I would love to see him with a true point guard out there next to him. I don't think it would diminish his role. So if you trade that pick for an established talent, I think that would really set them up for something. Yes, you're the shift of the focus of a team at that low in the lottery is usually not playoff team this year and going forward, but it was just one of those years where all the cards landed wrong. And don't take this too literally, but it reminds me of the Spurs when they had the Admiral go down and they lucked their way into Tim Duncan. And it's right back in it the next year. Guess what? Now we're, rolling forward. I don't know that they would, hope on that same behalf that they get a pick at 4 who turns into that level of we can now continue our team moving forward. I think that they're a team who would gamble on getting an established player and try to, make sure that Marc Gasol's next 3 years are all going in the playoffs.
Here's what I'm thinking. I've got 2 players. First off, this means whoever wants Bamba or Porter, we're open for business. That's what I'm thinking here. If any team wants to trade up for Mo Bamba or wants to trade up for Michael Porter, because coming out of the combine, they're going to be the stocks that rise the most. Unless a Porter, he goes top 3. And the trade I'm thinking about, and this might be a little crazy, but I don't think it's too much. What if the Bulls say, we really want Michael Porter, someone's going to take him before us, they ship 8, this isn't the whole deal, but this is the main 2 pieces, we'll give you Bobby Portis in the 7th for the 4th.
No.
Bobby Portis 7 and 22.
Well, I'm saying that's not everything, but the main part is Bobby Portis in the 7th to get a Michael Porter at the 4th.
I think they need to, at least at the Grizzlies, if they're going to be trading this pick, they need to leverage themselves to make sure they are in the playoffs. Bobby Portis does not make sure they are in the playoffs.
I think he can be a piece. He can be a bench piece to help them.
But they don't need a bench piece. They need someone that's going to be healthy, and they need someone that's going to be a starter.
But
Bobby Portis is not that guy.
He's a legit 4 in the NBA.
Yeah, and then you could take.
But is Bobby Portis going to make you a playoff team, Dave?
Yes.
Bobby Portis plus those 3 healthy players I was just talking about puts you right in the running.
And if you want to add another one, you can end a Wendell Carter Jr. at 7. Then boom, you get 2 power forwards that can help you.
I don't know. There's okay. Well, we're talking about Memphis Grizzlies. We're talking about Mike Conley, who just played 12 games last season. And again, Mike Conley, when healthy, is near top 10, near All-Star, near top 10 player, point guard. Sorry, not player, point guard in the league. But again, this team isn't quick. This team isn't to modern day NBA standards. Again, they have Marc Gasol, who's 33, 32 years old, and isn't the same Marc Gasol. He's good, but he isn't the same Marc Gasol that he used to be. He's also, again, throwing hissy fits against David Fizdale, getting him fired. Also wasn't playing near the end of the season last year as well. Was a very limited Marc Gasol in the past year. Mike Conley isn't healthy. Chandler Parsons isn't healthy.
I didn't even want to say his name out loud.
Reek Evans, Tyreek is not going to, possibly not going to be around this year.
It's no guarantee. Yeah.
Because his contract's up. Adding Bobby Portis does nothing for me. even if all these guys are healthy, that does not make Memphis a playoff team. I like Denver way more. Paul Millsap, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, way better than the core of Memphis. You had Bobby Portis, that doesn't tip the scales for me.
It's not just
and Denver
Bobby Portis.
Denver didn't even make the playoffs there. Okay, but a guy like Wendell Carter, yes, he's good, but can he be a guy that's, again, good enough to take you to the playoffs? I mean, this is the question.
But
you have to get to the playoffs if you're trading the fourth pick.
You can then match Bobby Portis and Wendell Carter together. Or if you go with the Mikal Bridges route that's there, you go with one of the threes that are there. Like, that's the thing. I think that the Grizzlies aren't going to really care. Oh, they're not going to care as much about who they're getting with that top pick because they're going to find someone that they like. I think this is a prime spot for basically, like I said, if you want Bamba, if you want Porter, we're open for business, baby. Let's make a deal.
I get
That's
that.
what this is.
So the question is,
but
why wouldn't they just pull the trigger on Porter in that case? That's my question.
Michael Porter Jr.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe they don't like him. Maybe they don't think it. What if they're like, we have enough injury-prone players? Why add another one?
Well, I think it's also something.
That's fair.
I think it's something
'Cause he has that
where
precaution.
you need the veteran. You need if you're Memphis.
Yeah.
What your idea is getting back to the playoffs. That's the idea for Memphis. So it's not about Michael Porter Jr. It's not about the future. It's not about Wendell Carter Jr. or Mo Bamba or Jaren Jackson Jr. It's about getting a veteran that's going to secure. Would the fourth be enough for a guy like Kawhi Leonard? Would the fourth be enough to get a player that's going to change your franchise? Because, again, you need a starter that's going to be not only on the court, but also is going to be that third piece, a part of that big three, if you want to call it, of Conley, Gasol, and X player.
Right.
And a guy like Kawhi Leonard would be that player. But it's Kawhi, and for the fourth, enough. Like, you need somebody that's going to make a splash.
Yeah.
And Bobby Portis and the seventh pick is not enough to make you a playoff team.
No.
That's the idea for Memphis. It's not about young players. It's not about moving down in the draft. It's about getting a guy that's going to make them a playoff team. And right now, I don't see a trade that's going to work out for Memphis. And I don't think that Memphis adding a guy like Bobby Portis and trading down and getting a Wendell Carter Jr. or something like that is going to make them a playoff team. Memphis is going to need to either get really desperate to make a deal or they're going to have to face the fact that they need to rebuild. And I get it. Marc Gasol is a fan favorite. Marc Gasol helped bring this team to the playoffs consistently when that team was healthy with Zebo and grit and grind play. I get it. It's going to be sad to see him leave at some point. But again, you need to get out of the Marc Gasol era. You need to get to the future. Trading the fourth pick, I think, would be super short-sighted for the Memphis Grizzlies.
But they've already made their decision to go with Gasol or Fizdale.
Terrible
it's
decision.
true.
Now you made your bed. You got to lay in it.
Exactly.
I've bashed that before. I've said on this podcast, like I've said plenty of times before about other different people, that Chris Ballard, the GM of Memphis, should be fired for not moving Marc Gasol and not moving Tyreke Evans.
Well, and that's why it's exactly what Dave said. Why when you chose Gasol over Fizdale, you completely took the word rebuild and kicked it out of the building. Kicked it a million miles away because we're not even thinking about that. So to me, the thing that I find a little funny with this is when he uses the phrase that they obviously were the most disappointed with how the lottery went down. It's like, really? Are you going to be a 5-year-old kid? I'm upset I didn't get a top 3 pick. I'm going to trade it. Like, come on.
Wow. We need to clip that.
Like, really, like, that is what I think of here a little bit, reading that. Like, you're going to be that upset that's like, screw it, I don't want to make this pick.
They didn't say that. And
the whole thing is this is not
it says
Memphis
they're
saying it.
obviously most disappointed. Like,
That's other
this is an outside
GM
source.
saying
No,
that.
I know that, but if
Okay,
that's how they feel,
if the Bulls were
why would you do that?
If the Bulls had the number one chance to get the number one pick and they fell to 4, you would be so pissed off. You'd be so disappointed.
But I don't think
that's just how people work.
This is putting me in a GM position. If I was a top 3 pick and I fell to 4,
they're not throwing a hissy fit. They're disappointed in what happened because they thought they can get a game-changing franchise player in DeAndre or
what
Luka
I'm
Doncic.
saying is, me as a GM, I would be upset that I fell out, but I wouldn't necessarily be like, well, we got to trade the pick. We got to trade it. But it's tradable now. Like, we got to trade it. Well, I would look at it and go, hey, what could a Mo Bamba, what could a Michael Porter, what could somebody add to this team? Kind of like what you were saying with the whole building through the draft and just rebuilding.
Again, I think the Grizzlies' mindset has always been that they're going to be a team that competes next year, whether they were getting the 4th pick or whether they were getting the 20th pick this year. They thought their season was ruined because of injuries. So this mindset hasn't changed from them getting the first pick to the 1 pick. It just changed that, hey, maybe now we'll actually trade it because they thought maybe Luka Doncic would just fit right in because, again, a pro mentality, a guy that's been playing overseas for the past 3 years in pro basketball would be able to step in and be a piece that at least contributes. Now they're thinking, hey, Mo Bamba's going to be time and he's not going to be able to contribute to this team. Jaren Jackson, we don't really know if he's going to be a guy that at least is going to be able to start for us. Marvin Bagley might not be a guy that's going to start for us. They might still value Deontay Davis high, a guy that drafted out of Michigan State to be a power forward. Maybe they don't need to fill that power forward spot. They don't need to fill that center spot because Marc Gasol's there. And then they don't need a point guard in Trae Young. So maybe they're moving, at least deciding to move back to get a guy that's going to help their team either at the 2 or the 3 with that veteran status. I think that's the idea. They're not throwing a hissy fit. They're just realizing that they're not going to get a player that's going to help their playoff chances at the 4th position.
That's why I look at 3 teams. If they want to add a veteran, there are 3 teams to me that I feel like could move up. 2 are more likely, one's kind of an outsider. First one, I mentioned them already, the Bulls. Bobby Portis has been in trade talks. They have the 7th pick. They also have the 22 pick if they want to use that for ammo as well. The second one, the Orlando Magic. What if they want to move up for a Michael Porter Jr., a Mo Bamba type of pick? And the last one, and this one might be the shocking one, what about the 76ers if they move a Dario Saric kind of player and say, we'll give you Dario, we'll give you the 10th. We want to move up for one of those players at number 4.
Now, we're going to talk about 2 of those ones because I think two are very interesting. The Magic and the Sixers. Just Dave, I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah.
The Magic one I think that at least could be feasible is Magic probably, highly value at least a guy like, maybe Mo Bamba, maybe Michael Porter Jr. They really want to get him
Bamba
move up.
Screams Magic to me.
Yeah, they really want to get him and they move up.
They got Bismack.
What if they add Evan Fournier to that trade? Fournier the 6th for the 4th. Would you do that if you're the Orlando Magic or the Memphis Grizzlies? Does Evan Fournier make the
His
Grizzlies
contract is what, like
17 mil?
Ooh, for how many years? Like 3? I want to say it's 3 years at 17.
I think so too.
That's rough.
I think you're right about that.
No, I'm terrified of, and I know the injury's not there.
2 years fully at 17 mil, and he's got a player in 2021 for 17 mil.
Yeah, yikes. No, I don't do that. Because I don't know, like if they do that without giving up contracts back, there's no way they could offer Tyreke Evans what he'd want. So I would not do that trade unless they're eating back money. But the Sixers one, I'm interested in.
Well, I mean, for the Magic, what if it's an Aaron Gordon type deal? I know he's an RFA. What if you get a deal done?
For the Sixers?
No, I'm saying for the Magic. Like you had mentioned before that, like, Aaron Gordon could be. What if they get a deal done early enough with Aaron Gordon to where they can include him in a trade and have it Aaron Gordon and the 6-ish for the number 4?
I mean, I don't know about it because I mean, again,
that seems like a great value.
I don't because it seems like a great value, but I'm
not for the freaking Magic. They're getting ripped.
Well, I mean, if you want to move up for a guy like Michael Porter Jr., that if you think he can be the best player in the draft, he obviously thinks when healthy
pull the trigger,
could be. Like, that's the thing. Do you love a guy that much? Would they be able to love a guy that much to make a deal like that work?
Yes, I mean, I think Gordon's probably more likely than Fournier, just because again, Gordon outside of the contract issues, younger player, more potential. But how does Gordon, do you think, fit into that Grizzlies lineup? I mean, Conley. We'll say maybe let's take Reek out of the
you really don't think he's coming back, do you?
Just right now because he's not a for sure certain thing.
The Knicks can offer him a max.
Let's say Conley's there. Let's say Gasol's there. Jermichael Green's Jermichael Green wouldn't be there because Aaron Gordon. So Parsons, Conley, Gordon, and Gasol. How does that team do in the Western Conference? At least that's starting 4.
They probably win 40 games.
You think so?
I think
if they're all healthy.
Yeah, Conley and Gasol on their own are a fantastic duo. You've got veterans on that team, and veterans can close games. Like I would not be worried about that team. I don't know if 40 gets you in the playoffs though.
Well, yeah, because that'd be under 500.
Well, I'm 42. Yeah. Like they would be right at that. They'd be right at that mark. I don't know if I say they go 500 with that. Like, yes, they could trash on some teams because matchups would be fun because Aaron Gordon, who can switch on people, Aaron Gordon can take it. He can now stretch it out a little bit. Marc Gasol now doing that as well. Like, you have a good front court. And Mike Conley, no slouch. The problem is, like, do you trust Chandler Parsons as, healthy? I mean, shooting wise, he fell off a cliff. But it just depends on like how much faith you have really there. I don't have any, so I think that them as a 500 team is about as best as I would give them.
47 was the line in the West this year. Like 47 was the 8th seed.
And the Nuggets barely made it in. The Clippers barely made it in. The Clippers had more health problems too, and they still had a better record. It barely made it out. Whatever.
Yeah, so that's my thing. I don't know that would Aaron Gordon would necessarily make them a playoff team.
And there's some deals they're throwing out there. 4 for the 6th, 35th, and 41 this year for the OK Futures first for that Orlando deal. I've been looking up a couple trades. So they'd be trading 6, 2 seconds, and then OKC's future. I think that was in the Oladipo trade to Orlando and OKC for the fourth. I mean, again, you're just moving back, but I don't see what the positive there for the Grizzlies. Yes, you're getting younger players. You're getting 4, but just get the guy that you think best fits your team. I don't understand this in the NBA draft.
If they think they're not, that's like hedging your bet. Basically, you're saying I don't know that we can hit this, but worst case scenario, we've got a head start on the rebuild.
The only thing maybe it's a head start on the rebuild, but the only thing that I see positive when you take on this many picks is if you're going to move it for assets that are going to help you in. So like 2 seconds for a veteran, like for a Bobby Portis or whatever, taking that OKC pick and then trading that for a veteran. Like that's the only thing. This isn't like the NFL where you're going to be able to fill out 52 positions through the draft. You're not going to be able to get guys that again in the second round are still going to be first round talents. Even like the late first round talent, like first round players in the NBA draft aren't even first round talents.
There's a huge miss percentage there.
So I mean that's the thing is I don't see the point of moving back. If you have the ability to take your guy at 4, take your guy. And the only way I see Memphis moving this pick is if they're getting a veteran to help their playoff chances. Right. And I don't even think they should be doing that. So it's so misconstrued for the Grizzlies to think that. I think that they're going to be able to make the playoffs consecutively for the next 5 years or whatever.
3 years is realistic with Gasol.
3 years because then you're going to get rid of Gasol and Conley once those contracts are done, and then you're left with nothing. I mean, you're left with nothing. You're not going to be able to take that and make that into a
you can't transition
future.
One generation to the next. And I think that's one of the things that like a lot of playoff teams hold on to their teams for too long, and you end up in those situations. Like the Miami Heat is a team that went from LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh to Goran Dragic, Justice Winslow, Hassan Whiteside, and guess what? Still in the playoffs. Like they did not dip off the face of the earth.
Well, they also have a pretty good top 10
my
head
point
coach
being,
too.
And they have a top 10 GM.
Exactly.
Like teams who know when to let go.
Himself.
He told Dwayne Wade, like, I'm not going to give you more money. He's not giving you a Kobe contract. And that's the thing.
And who
you
came
see the
back?
Lakers and a team who held on too long to their star and who tried to build around an aging star who was injured. Like, I'm just saying there's ways to set your franchise up for success, and holding on to aging veterans and hoping that you can get one last run in. Like, I get it. It worked for Dirk.
Yeah.
Dirk's special. I don't think Marc Gasol has what Dirk has as far as being able to lead a team to a championship ring late in his career.
And I know he's not as old, but Boston kind of did the same thing with Isaiah Thomas. Like, you're coming off that injury. No, we're not giving you the money. We're going to trade you for Kyrie. Like, they kind of did the same thing there. Is we're not giving you a contract.
Shit, that's a team that flipped over their talent. They're like, oh, you take our old veteran players who won us rings.
Jay Crowder
and
Bradley.
No, I was saying the
Garnett Pierce.
The Garnett Pierce Ray Allen thing.
To Brooklyn.
Gave it away, and guess what? Everyone's like, oh, this is a terrible trade. I'll never forget the faces and the noises that came out of
Boston
Bill
fans.
Simmons.
Bill Simmons' reaction to that trade was fantastic. And guess what? We're all looking back at that laughing. You have to know when to let go. If they can, and this is me, not Memphis. If I was for some awful reason the GM of Memphis, I would be looking at moving guys like Marc Gasol, guys like Mike Conley, guys who have value on that team.
You should know that better than anyone, being a Patriot fan.
You take the highest value.
Bill Belichick is like that.
They're just smart.
I'll just let you go before
I mean, the reason why Bill Belichick is seen as, at least, the great GM, a great football mind, at least a great, at least talent cultivator is because he's able to move away from talent.
But like
soon
that's
enough.
what it
That's
makes me
freaking
think of.
heartless.
Yeah, I mean, it's just smart business.
And that's the point.
Again, this is the NBA. This is smart business. I mean, it's the whole reason with IT. I think you mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
IT,
Ricky
we're not
did.
going to give you the contract because you're old and you're broken down and you're not going to be in our plans when you're 33 years old. Yeah. We need to move on from you. Like, it sucks to see, but again, Marc Gasol, even though he's been there for X amount of years, and he's been taking Memphis to the playoffs. It's time to move on from Marc Gasol. It's time to move on from Mike Conley, even though you're not going to be able to do that because you offered him a max 5 years and made him the highest paid player at the time of that contract in the NBA.
I mean, you're going to ride out with Conley for probably 2 more years, and then you can see what you can get. I mean, to move him.
Because if he's still injured, you're still going to have him under contract.
I'm not saying he's a super injury-prone guy.
No, but again, he's also...
He was Mr. Consistent.
He's also older, though. So again, it's tougher to come back and bounce back from injuries at this age.
Right.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. But I'm saying it's tough for him, at least at that age, to bounce back like he would have at 24.
Yeah.
So it's something where it's time to move on from these players. It's time to take that 4th overall pick and draft the next great player and draft the future of the Memphis Grizzlies.
I completely
This is
agree.
a team that, again, Rob Pera, the majority owner, just re-upped his ownership through a buy-sell agreement for, I think, $1.3, $1.4 billion. I mean, this is still a Memphis Grizzlies franchise that is still valuable, that is still worth money. You need to keep that value going. And while it might be difficult to, possibly pass up on future playoff tickets for one round because you get your butt whooped against the Warriors next year if you're the 8th seed, like it's going to be tough to pass on that money, but also you're going to be, at least cultivating the ability to possibly make the playoffs for 10 straight years if you go with a guy like, Mo Bamba, if you go get a guy like Marvin Bagley. It's smart business to just go out and build for the future and not stay in these old rundown ideas of what your franchise could be. It's time to move on for Memphis. It's time to just draft the future because this sign of this year, what you're without Marc Gasol, without Mike Conley, is a bad sign to be in. It's a desolate future to be in. And this is what you're going to be in if you keep relying on guys who are 33, 31 years old to be the face of your franchise. And unless you're guys like LeBron James, who's never been hurt in his career, at least seriously.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible.
It's a horrible investment. And also, LeBron James is going to be making you $1 billion alone because he's LeBron freaking James.
Yep.
No offense to Marc Gasol, no offense to Mike Conley. Them combined is not going to be making you the same amount of money LeBron James brings in.
You guys barely play the same sport. The other thing I want to bring up about that is about the turnaround is you also, if you are a bad team again next year, you keep your pick. Remember, that pick is going to Boston at some point. 2019 is top 8 protected. 2020 is top 6 protected. So you have to make sure that you get value out of that. If you're going to suck, don't suck in the middle. Just go all into the suck.
Yeah. Here's one thing I'm going to compare it to for Grizzly fans and for the Grizzlies in general is if they make this trade for a veteran to try to get in the playoffs, they will be like the 2009-2010 Chicago Bulls. Had enough to get 500. We're going to make the 8th seed. We got knocked out by LeBron in 5 games. Same thing will happen to you with a different team. You'll get the 8th seed, you get knocked out by the Rockets, who could have LeBron James, or the Golden State Warriors. Good luck with that.
Final thoughts here on the Memphis Grizzlies. What players should they be looking at, and should they be thinking about drafting? Should they be thinking about trading?
I would just make the pick. I would not trade it, but if they do trade it, I'm going to say it's to a team like Chicago or Orlando that wants to jump teams because they're afraid of them going with either a Mo Bamba or a Michael Porter Jr.
Who do they take if they keep it?
If they keep it, either Bagley or Jackson, I would go with the Bagman.
I agree. Take the pick. Go highest upside available. I mean, this is the time to rebuild. And I know you screw up with your coach, but you got to realize now that you go for the highest asset this year, you go for the highest asset next year, and then you probably won't have your pick the following. Hopefully, if everything goes well. Bagley probably is the guy who's going to be available. I think Porter Jr. still stands an outside chance of going 3.
I think he does too.
We didn't see, and I didn't see anything to seriously question his health right now. I know there are going to be a lot more workouts, individual workouts, team doctors looking at him. So I hope we get some more clarity there. But I could see him easily going here because just we talked about the upside of him possibly having as a 6'11" smooth shooter. I mean, you can't pass that up, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be stupid to trade the pick. And I think most teams in the top 5 would be stupid to trade their picks unless they're getting more assets in the future, like first-round picks from teams that are already picking in the top 5.
Do you think this was a smokescreen from somebody who wants the Memphis Grizzlies pick? Because it was from another GM source in the league.
Why did you bring that up in the pot. That would have been great you should have brought that up earlier in the topic, buddy. That would have been better at me yelling at Memphis Grizzlies fans.
I sort of enjoy you yelling at Memphis Grizzlies fans.
Is it a smoke screen? Now, who do you think would gain the most from a smoke screen?
Well, that's the question: is who wants to move up? Who wants to influence the Grizzlies to trade back in this? And who are they trying to get up for? Could it be the Bamba thing that Ricky's talking about with him having impressive workouts in a improved shot from the outside? Could it be Michael Porter Jr.? Could it be? I think it's one of those two guys who is kind of wowing people after the early combine showing. I'm looking at honestly, like I hate being a homer with Ricky, but like I could see Bulls, Cavs, anyone in that like 7 through like 10 range. Offering that up, not the 76ers.
What do the Cavs have ammo wise to get up though? Like I don't think they have enough ammo to get up.
They have the 8th overall pick.
They have the 8th and Kevin Love.
Next year they could. What they could do though is they could give up pick wise this year's pick and next year's. The reason being
They're
is
not theirs.
Instead, if it's top 10 protected, it would just go to Memphis then instead of the Cavaliers because it is top 10 protected. The one that's with Atlanta right now for 2019.
Wait, what are you saying?
The Cavs
the
have traded
2019
away.
pick. It's top 10 protected.
The Cavs?
Yeah,
Okay.
like the Hawks have it, but Cleveland will have it.
But if the
top 10.
the Cavs cannot trade their first round pick back to back years, so
I don't know when it was traded.
So no, but I'm
No,
saying
but they have to have a
if they
pick in the
trade if
first.
they traded this year's pick, they don't have it. They can't trade next year's pick no matter what.
Well, and to me, I look at Dan Gilbert, and he's a guy that I could believe putting out something like this because he wants to move up because he's afraid LeBron left, and it goes off of what I know Stu Gott said today on Golick and Wingo, where he's like, LeBron's made up his mind. He's like, I think he's leaving. LeBron's made up his mind, though, what he's going to do. And if Dan Gilbert believes that and thinks it's leaving, why wouldn't he throw out a smoke screen to try to get Memphis thinking about it so that he can influence them to move up?
I mean, what about a far out team like the Bucks or something like that?
The one team I was going to throw out there was the Clippers.
Clippers have assets.
Because they have those 2 picks.
Yeah.
And maybe that would be enough for the Grizzlies where, hey, maybe they even throw on a player that would help their run. Maybe they look for a backup point guard. Maybe throw on Pat Bev, and then you throw on those 2 picks, and you get that 4th overall pick. Memphis is at least able to get some capital in the 12th and 13th. Clippers get the 4th overall pick. They're able to get a guy in Michael Porter Jr. that they possibly think is a game changer, or maybe a Mo Bamba they think is a game changer. I think I think the team that would do it is going to do it for Michael Porter Jr. They don't want to miss out on it. They want to be the first to just jump on it and take him because again, no offense to Mo Bamba, no offense to Marvin Bagley, no offense to Jaren Jackson, they don't have the ability to dominate a game like Michael Porter Jr. can be if he's healthy and is all he's hyped up to be.
Yeah.
If he's a 6'11" freak that can shoot the ball from the outside and he's healthy, he can be the best player in this draft. There's no doubt about it. So I think the team that is at least throwing that out there, if it is a smokescreen, would be the team that most wants Michael Porter Jr., the Bulls. So I think the Bulls are probably the team that's probably the
7,
the one
22,
that would throw out there.
and Bobby Portis.
That's not enough for me though. You need
Really,
to throw
you're
in
going
a future.
back 3 spots, and you're getting 22 and a 4.
We talked about the Magic. And it's 2 spots, and they're giving up Aaron Gordon.
Yikes.
How does Aaron Gordon not equal Bobby Portis in the 22nd?
No, that's fair.
I mean,
Contract. That's the only difference. With Aaron Gordon, you would have to
but the
lock him.
talent level is miles apart.
But I'm saying like the contract is Aaron Gordon's an RFA.
Don't disrespect the 1-2 punch.
He's an RFA this offseason.
Yes.
So I mean, you would have to lock down that contract in order to make that deal. Where Bobby Portis is
2 years
he's
down
locked
the road.
down.
I think it would
Okay,
have to
2
be something
years.
where you trade it well after the draft. You'd have to agree to that at the point and then have to get Aaron Gordon to sign.
That's why
and
with
then
Bobby Portis,
move
it's probably more realistic.
But then again, Bobby Portis isn't near the talent level. Anyways, let us know what you think the Grizzlies should do down in the comments below. It's an interesting situation, whether they're going to trade the pick, whether they're not going to trade the pick. Do you think the Grizzlies can make the playoffs as this team stands? Do you think if they're going to go out and get a veteran like Kawhi Leonard or Bobby Portis or Aaron Gordon? Let us know in the comments down below.